I wanted to bring you something a little bit different. Recently, the past 24 years of my life, I've been reading books on occasion, not consistent. Hiatus during university, of course, like all good scholars do. Stopped reading for fun and stopped reading for education as well. What can you do? But we're back, we're here, and we're ready to read again. So I thought I would share with you 15. I bring to you, that was weird, 15 books that have greatly impacted my life in some way or just been really enjoyable to read. Today is going to be a mixture of both audibles as well as hard copy books / soft copy, because hard copy is expensive. I'm going to share with you a few tips and tricks for finding books cheaper than full price. So this one, The Handbook for the Highly Sensitive Person. And this is written by Mel Collins. And this one I actually found at Chapters for $6. Yeah, part of the reason why I got it. And I am constantly weeping. If you're anything like me, and you also weep at everything, and you find you stand out and you don't know why people don't feel the same way you feel, this book might be for you. Emotions feel validated. It made me feel heard. It made me feel a lot less crazy. I feel so strange and so, like, I don't know, different. Like, I feel like I don't know, it makes me really uncomfortable. And this book kind of made me a bit more empowered in my emotions, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's separated into 3 different parts, and it actually offers some productive ways to employ boundaries, to feel empowered with your emotions and actually continue to express them. It offered productive ways to actually use your empathy and people-pleasing nature in other ways. Also provided a lot of practical strategies. I said that. It provided a lot of resources to continue reading after this one. So I'll link some of those below, but there's a lot of people out there who are highly sensitive or empaths, and this, if you think you are one, you know you are one, I super recommend it if you can get your hands on it. I found it at Chapters, and like I said, it was $6, but I also find a lot of luck finding books at Value Village. So people just buy a book, read it once, and donate it. And I have found so many, like, New York Times bestsellers, on Oprah's reading list, like books like that. Pretty recent books too, and they're just at Value Village for like $4. So hit up your used bookstores or clothing stores. You never know. This one is an audible. So this one is called The Call of the Wild and Free, and it's by Ainsley Arment. I hope I said that right. And it basically talks about reclaiming your child's education. I don't have kids, no, but I am super interested in child development, as well as I'm just super excited to be a mom, and I want to not make sure, because you can't make sure, but I want to be equipped with knowledge, I guess, before it happens, and I want to prevent some of the things that happen. Obviously, everyone wants the best for their kids, and that is kind of where this goes in. It talks about homeschooling and the Montessori method, and it just talks about the different ways that children actually learn. There is a bit of talk about neuroscience and the way the brain actually works and develops. I don't know, it gave me a lot of ideas in terms of homeschooling or not homeschooling. It talks about the myths about homeschooling that a lot of people, I think, have, that students are antisocial when they come out of homeschool, they can't get into college. None of those are true. Generally have higher SAT scores, more socially competent than those who went to regular school their whole life. And it just really talks about it in a pleasant way. It's not like shoving it down your throat. It's really, I don't know, trust your instincts. That's basically what it's talking about. And yeah, reclaiming your child's education. Atomic Habits, I'm sure you guys have all heard of this as well. I won't go into too much detail on this one. This one is written by James Clear, and it just talks about how we build habits, how we maintain habits. It's incredible. I listened to this one on Audible as well. I super recommend it if you're just interested in productivity or even trying to break some habits, improve some new ones. Yeah, super recommend Atomic Habits by James Clear. Another Audible, A Conversation About Emotional Fitness. Now this one is actually, there is an Audible version and then there is a separate written book, and they are both slightly different. So the Audible is actually, so it's written by Janice Berger, but it's a conversation between her and Greene Davies. I hope I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. And that one, so Janice Berger is a psychotherapist and she has over 40 years of experience, and it talks about our emotional system, how we process our emotions, different ways that people kind of project their emotions. And I don't know, it was really eye-opening, and to hear it in a conversation form was really interesting. It felt like you were in the room and they were sharing experiences, sharing stories, and I don't know, it made me really interested in reading her novel as well. It is a book, there's a lot of research in it. But I have only listened to the Audible, I haven't read her book yet. But I would super recommend her Audible if you're just looking to find out more about how we process emotions. If you want some help on working through your emotions, it gives some pointers. It gives some ways that we can actually like feel through our feelings and complete them, and like there is an end to it, which is great. You don't have to feel like shit forever. Obviously it comes in waves, and there'll be things that like come up throughout your life. Like, you're not just gonna heal and be totally okay forever. Like, you'll go through other things, you'll experience other things, and that's just living. But knowing how to handle your emotions and process them is a tool that I didn't have really. Like, I was not processing what I was feeling in a healthy way. I was trying to shove it down, I was trying to mask it, and this kind of opened my eyes and just got me thinking about it a bit more. I also saw someone in regards to emotional processing, so they help you work through what you're thinking and honestly just validate your feelings as you're expressing them, which if you haven't had that experience and you're open to it, I super suggest it. Just even to hear someone be like, it's okay, like that's totally fair, or you're safe here, everything you're feeling is valid. Like, when you're going through shit, you're just like, huh? Thank you so much. So counseling, therapy, all of that, fully recommend. If you don't feel comfortable with yours, tell them, find another. You don't have to do it in person. You can send an email to their office, you can call the admin assistant. Easier said than done. But if you're not comfortable with your therapist, there's no point in staying in it. It's not going to help you at all. You'll probably resent them. You'll probably grow more negative emotions, and you don't deserve that. They don't deserve it. Like, they understand not everyone is for everyone. Another Audible. You'll hear his name again, Pete Walker. And this one is called The Tao of Fully Feeling. And he actually has a few books about emotional processing, childhood trauma, complex PTSD, all the good stuff. This Audible was suggested to me by someone I was seeing for my emotional processing. And I listened to it on Audible, and it really talks about healing emotional trauma and abuse from your childhood, but it puts it in a way that you're trying to harbor forgiveness. And that negative energy is only hurting yourself. Like, you're eating the poison, they aren't getting it. Like, you're sitting at home feeling shitty and thinking about how bad they were as a person and how horrible to you they were. Like, obviously you didn't deserve that, and you know that. Audible kind of explains not the reasons, but it puts it in a different light. My experiences in a different way. It made me look at me in a different way, and it might help you understand your emotions you're feeling a bit more too, if you're really struggling right now. I listened to this before I went through therapy, so I was not in a great state, but it really did help. And I think if you can and you have an interest in it, totally recommend. This bad bee, The Gifts of Imperfection. Now, this one is by Brene Brown. Now, you might have heard of her, probably. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. I've actually had this on my bookshelf for years. I got it as a gift one Christmas and I scoffed. Like, I pushed it aside. Like, I'm not reading this. And when I did finally read it, I finished it within like literally 24 hours, couldn't put it down. And yeah, super recommend. I've seen these at Value Village actually a few times, so you might have some luck there. If not, it probably is fairly cheap at Chapters. Canadian, it's $19.95 on the back, and US, it's $14.95. So keep your eyes peeled. A bit of self-help, but it really kind of goes through vulnerability, courage, worthiness, but mainly feeling shame and addressing it. And when shame is acknowledged, it loses its power. When I say things that I'm embarrassed about out loud, or that I feel like I did wrong, and someone is around me and they're like, "Are you kidding?" I wasn't like, and they kind of acknowledge it, it loses its power. This kind of talks about that, and kind of talks about like being okay to admit what you've done wrong and where you can improve, and I guess addressing the things you're embarrassed about. And shame is directly rooted in perfectionism, and when we can dial back shame, we can dial back our perfectionism a bit too, and it opens up so many doors in terms of doing things we enjoy, being creative without the feeling of like it has to be perfect, which once you start to let go of it, it's so exciting. You feel like a kid, like your creativity starts coming back. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna draw a freaking dragon. Like, letting go of that wall is incredible. Cry. What is happening? But yeah, expressing vulnerability and expressing emotions, I think, should be seen as a skill and seen as something more valuable than I think it's portrayed as in society. Like, being able to feel is insane. Hello? Yeah, I digress. I recommend this book. This one, The Body Keeps the Score. And this one is by Bessel van Kolk. And this is a ton of research actually, and it really is about trauma and how much, well, basically trauma and the insane impact it has on your body and your health. Was a really big step in terms of me healing, and it described what I was feeling in a way that I could understand, and it explained my stomach problems, it explained my periods out of whack, it explained my asthma, it explained my anxiety, it explains my depression, it explains literally everything down to, again, breast cysts. Like, everything that I've developed, most of them are autoimmune disorders, but it's all from trauma, and it's all from me harboring the stress of these experiences and not addressing them or going through them. Now, this is mainly talking about how the body keeps the score and This book made me realize what had actually happened too, and that I wasn't crazy or that I wasn't a bad person. Like, a lot of the stories were very real and relatable, and if you're struggling right now, I wouldn't recommend reading the stories. They're in the first part, but if you are currently traumatized and trying to process that, I would avoid taking on any other stories that might upset you or might trigger you in any way, because it's an overload to your emotions. You don't need to process anything else. You don't deserve that, and it can be triggering. And when I read it, I was almost upset by some of the stories in here because they were so real. But it also shares a ton of research and information and actionable items that you can put forward in your life when it comes to healing. Yeah, this will be on my shelf for a while. I encourage anyone to read this if you've experienced any trauma, emotional, physical, long-term, short-term, assault. If you're a veteran, like, this is incredible, and it has so much research in terms of trauma and the effects on the body. Okay, while we're on the topic of trauma, I thought this would be a good one. Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. And this is by our guy, Pete Walker. And it talks about the causes of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which, range from severe neglect to monstrous abuse. Many survivors grew up in houses that were not homes, in families that were as loveless as orphanages, and sometimes as dangerous. If you felt unwanted, unliked, rejected, hated, and or despised for a lengthy portion of your childhood, trauma may be deeply ingrained in your mind, soul, and body. This book is a practical guide to recovering from lingering childhood trauma. It is copiously illustrated with examples of the author's and his clients' journeys of recovering. It's a comprehensive self-help guide for working through the toxic legacy of the past and for achieving a rich and fulfilling life. So that was the back. So the author, he has dealt with complex PTSD himself, and my favorite part about this book actually is I have it flagged. So it is the 13 steps for managing an emotional flashback. And when I was initially off work and in the thick of it, and like, I wasn't sleeping, I was having nightmares, I was paranoid, I was having emotional flashbacks as much as I was having actual flashbacks or like nightmares. So most of my day I was just back and forth between tears and like panicking. Like, I would hear a loud noise and I would have a panic attack. Like, a dog would bark and it would trigger it, like hell. So this was usually an arm's reach away, and the 13 steps really just help you walk through what you're feeling, and they remind you that you're safe, that you're okay, that this is a flashback and you're not in that space anymore. So while I was really in the worst part of my PTSD, I didn't read the novel from front to back. I actually just like kept this tab and just kept reading that over and over again. But if you are in a better state and feel comfortable reading the entire thing, it is filled with research, tons of information that you can put into your everyday life, and it's incredible. The amount of work that he has done on this topic is very evident in any of his books. There's this one, The Tao of Fully Feeling. There's another one called Walking the Lion, more about anger as well. So, Walking the Tiger? I'll put it here. I don't want to get the title wrong, give you something different. But yeah, great book. Huge, great book. Another one kind of in like self-help topic would be taking charge of your fertility. Now, this is actually how I got off conventional birth control. That sounds weird, but I have not been on the pill for over a year and a half, and I've been using this method for birth control now, and knock on wood, still no problems. And basically, this book was super empowering and just gave me a ton of information. If you've ever struggled with irregular periods, bad cramps, anything to do with your menstrual cycle that doesn't feel right, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, the list goes on. This book gives you so much information and ways that you can actually track your symptoms that doctors understand. They understand these charts as well, and you can get a diagnosis within a couple months of tracking your cycles because of how well your body actually talks to you. And once you understand how it's speaking to you, you can see what's going on. And previously, at one point in my life, my periods were like, I was on birth control since I was 15, and for my periods, like, they were so irregular, so heavy, so painful. Like, I would get black circles under my eyes, and like, it was just done. Like, first day, completely out. And since I've done this, my cramps are still there. They're not as heavy, but my cycle is predictable. I know when it's coming to, like, literally the day, and I can predict / track any other health problems. So I can see if something goes wrong, I can see if something's kind of weird. Great. One I will pass down to my daughters, for sure. And honestly, any friend that wants to read this, hit me up, I got you. Yeah, like, it has pictures, it has graphs you can check, it shows you how to track everything. We females have a natural spermicide in us, right? Whoever told us? No one. No one. So unless you're actually ovulating, the chances of you getting pregnant are like 0 to none. And yeah, that's not told to us. So we're given a pill that gives us anxiety, depression, acne, makes us gain weight, makes us feel like shit. This book will help you get off it. This one, I don't have a hard copy of, sadly. Someone let me borrow this book, and I am so thankful. Chicken Soup for the Soul, and it's the Angels All Around version. I believe it's from 2017. I'll put it here, but it was given to me when I was really struggling to grieve the loss of my grandmother. Oh, sorry. It gave me a lot of comfort, and yeah, the faith in the unknown can do so much. And yeah, I know she's with me, and this book just has a lot of personal stories shares a ton of personal stories from people all over the world and their experiences with spiritual beings, really, and people in the afterlife. And whether you believe in it or you're curious about it, I would super recommend this book. If you're grieving the loss of the loved one and just want maybe some comfort that they're still there, totally recommend. I'll put that here. Okay, while I try and get myself together, let's switch to some novels. Now, this one I read in high school, Looking for Alaska by John Greene, and I read this at least 5 times, and it is so well written. It feels like you are a part of the story. I don't want to spoil anything. These ones are going to be harder to explain, but it's basically about a boy who goes to boarding school and he meets this girl, Alaska, and you go on a bunch of adventures with them, and there is smoking, there is drinking, there is sex, there is all things that young teen readers want to read, right? But it talks about mental health. It's, oh my god, it's incredible. And yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anything more, but this was an incredible novel, and I could not recommend it more. Next, I don't have this one on me. It's actually at home with my mom, at my childhood home, and that is the book Impulse by Hopkins. And Impulse was the one that stuck out to me the most, and it talks about, it's the lives of 3 teenagers, and they're all in a hospital, a psych ward, and they're all dealing with their different issues and different problems, and the way it's written is almost poetic, and at that age it makes you feel not alone. Like, I read that in high school when I was like dealing with pretty severe depression and had a lot of problems with self-harm and stuff like that, and it is mentioned in this novel, but in a way that, I don't know, it didn't encourage it, it didn't trigger it, but it made you not feel crazy. I don't know, it took me into another world, really, and Impulse was the one that really stood out to me. I've read it like probably 10 plus times, but all of her books kind of talk about really big teen issues, young adult, prostitution, drug use, mental health, alcohol use, abuse, a ton of different things. And at that age, you don't necessarily want to talk to people about that, but reading about it is totally different. And these are geared towards young adults. So yeah, totally suggest those. Even now, I think I would enjoy it. Like, if I had it here, I'd probably read it. So yeah, totally recommend if that's up your alley. This one, wept. So good. Literally had goosebumps. I was writing my notes for it and it all came back and I was just like, oh my god. Found it at Value Village as well. We Are Called to Rise by McBride, and it's really about families, but also about the crazy generosity that some people give to complete strangers and the complete care and love that comes out of their heart, regardless of if they're blood family or not. And it talks about that. It's about adoption, military in here. There's 3 different stories and they all kind of come together. Yeah, I found it at Value Village and very pleasantly surprised at how incredible it is. It's one of the reviews is, you'll be thinking about these characters long after you finish this haunting, heart-wrenching, and hopeful book. And it says haunting, but it's not in like a, like, yeah, there is some pretty rough things they talk about in here, but it's, oh my god, it's so incredibly written. Yeah, totally recommend. I don't want to give anything away from this, so if you find this in a bookshelf near you, pick that up. Almost the last one. Behind Closed Doors. Now, this one is by B.A. Paris, and it's almost like a murder mystery, not mystery-esque, but it's basically about a perfect marriage, and they fall in love super quick. It's like so too good to be true. Like, he loves the woman's sister who she has to live with, and like there's a bunch of factors. They get engaged within 3 months, and then within like literally on their wedding night, he becomes a complete horrifying person. And oh my god, it might be a little slow in the beginning, but once you hit page 100, you will not put this down. Like, oh my god. Heads up, there is a part in here that is quite emotional if you are anything like me. A dog dies in not a pleasant way. So I was weeping on the couch when I read that. So if you come across that part, you might want to skip over it. But yeah, incredible writing, so powerful, totally recommend. And this was another Value Village find. So check your secondhand stores. That's it. Last one. Okay, The Social Leap. Now this one, me and my partner listened to actually on Audible, and this one is by William von Heppel, and it talks a lot about evolution and who we are, why we do what we do, how we believe our lies, why we believe them, yeah, what makes us happy. It really gave me a much better understanding of us as people and really why we do the things we do, why like men are more visual, women are not. Like there's different things that are actually like, there are things that have made it this far throughout evolution, and their reasons for being here are still based in the reason we had them like 50 to 100 years ago. I don't know, it was really eye-opening. It really helped me learn a lot. If you have any interest in evolutionary psychology or comparative psych, you'll probably already know a lot about it, but it was super informative. I really loved it and would super recommend, and that was an Audible. Yeah. Okay, wow, oh my god. That's all the books. We got through them all. Yeah, so those are my 15 book recommendations. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I've been struggling a bit to make videos. I honestly was struggling with motivation, but I'm really happy I got this one done. And I'm excited to see what you guys think about this, and hopefully there will be more of these type of videos in the future. Yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. This is probably coming out on a Friday, so happy Friday. And yeah, let me know if you like this. Let me know if you like this style video, or if you want to see more about books. Okay, Erica, bye.